BeakerBeat.
It's Monday, October 3rd, 2011, and this week's BeakerBeat, the premier gathering for the medical device industry, takes place in Washington, D.C., and Beaker is there. We'll bring you all the highlights from Advamed 2011, the Medtech Conference. Plus, we interview several prominent CEOs and get their thoughts on the value of Advamed and much more.
Swag!
And mix a conference, free schwag, and the BeakerBeat team, and what do you get? We'll show you coming up. All that and more in this week's edition of BeakerBeat, brought to you by Allergan. To learn more about Allergan, visit their company webpage on Beaker.com. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of BeakerBeat. I'm Mike Justice, thanks for tuning in. We're here at Advamed 2011, the Medtech Conference, for this week's show. Advamed 2011, the 5th annual Medtech Conference, is the premier Medtech gathering for CEOs, business executives, policymakers, financiers, media, and industry stakeholders from around the world. This annual event brings these groups together for critical dialogues on subjects ranging from regulatory affairs and reimbursement to IP and business development, and more. Plenary speakers included President George W. Bush, 2 state governors, and leading FDA and HHS officials. While many exhibitors spent day one of the conference setting up and preparing for the flood of attendees, there were plenty of things to see and do away from the main exhibition hall. First day highlights included several panel sessions, among them the Entrepreneurship Boot Camp, which offered the unique opportunity to engage with a few of the industry's most successful CEOs. William Hawkins, former chairman and CEO of Medtronic, was one of the panelists.
There's a lot of entrepreneurship and innovation that takes place in big companies, and I think you just have to really encourage it. You have to allow people to, or give people sort of the freedom to try different things and to realize you're going to make some things are going to work and some things aren't going to work.
Other panel sessions included the Sunshine Act and its impact on the medical device industry, healthcare reform 1 year later, and a discussion on the opportunities in China's medical technology sector. Day 2 was the busiest day of the conference, with dozens of panel sessions, forums, company presentations, and more. President George W. Bush was the guest speaker for the plenary luncheon, as hundreds of attendees gathered to hear him speak about his time in office. There were many CEOs Unplugged sessions on the stage in the exhibit hall. Topics ranged from technology and regulatory to business development and more. Other notable events on Day 2, Ernst & Young's annual report on the industry's performance was released. Among their findings, publicly traded medtech companies in the U.S. and Europe enjoyed a solid 2010 with signs the global recession's impact on the industry may be dissipating. But there are still tough issues to tackle. The international reach of Advamed 2011, the Medtech Conference, was on display with a special visit from Michael Arriola, Mexico's Federal Commissioner for the Protection Against Sanitary Risks. He discussed Mexico's modernization strategy that includes massive drug and device regulatory reform. Finally, the day ended with the chairman's reception, sponsored by IDA Ireland, and hosted by Advamed's chairman, Jim Mazzo, and the Advamed 2011 conference chair, Carol Neubauer. The last day of the conference highlighted over 90 exhibitors, including Abbott, Advamed, B. Braun Medical, and others, in Innovation Alley, a showcase of life-changing medical device and diagnostic technologies. The final plenary luncheon of the conference featured Secretary Kathleen Sebelius of the Department of Health and Human Services.
Going forward, we'll continue to implement changes, soliciting feedback and seeking out additional areas in need of reform. And your active engagement at each step of that process is vital.
In sum, there were dozens of panels and Q&A sessions held during the 3 days of Advamed 2011, covering a broad range of topics that are critical to the growth and success of device makers of all sizes.
Through Advamed, actually, as a small company, able to monitor both the political, regulatory, and reimbursement process here in America and around the world, which is a tremendous advantage to us because as a small company, we would not have the visibility at all the levels that we have gained through Advamed.
But the conference wasn't just about panel sessions. Perhaps the most valuable asset of Advamed 2011, the Medtech Conference, was the intimate setting and unparalleled access to industry leaders and peers.
You know, I think there's value across all boards. The large CEO, the small CEO, the private investor. The value is having everybody under one roof, but not missing that one-on-one interaction.
In the end, Advamed 2011, the Medtech Conference, was deemed a success by organizers, sponsors, attendees, and exhibitors. And if you couldn't make it to D.C., Mr. Mazzo has a message for you.
So if you didn't attend, you messed up big time. What you missed is the large scale of a large show to bring the type of people that will come to large scale, but the intimacy of one-on-one interaction with your audience. That's what you missed.
We couldn't have said it better ourselves. So tell us what you think about this story or any story that you see in today's show. Very simple. Click on the orange button below me. A box will pop up. Type in your comments, send it to me. I promise I'll read and respond to every one of them. And when you're done watching BeakerBeat, check out Beaker's blog, where you can find more daily highlights from Advamed 2011 and a CEO dismissal that reads like a soap opera. Those stories and more on Beaker's blog. All right, Jeremy, look, it's official. Got a little banner thing here to tell us where to set up here. We're at Advamed 2011, the Medtech Conference. Going to interview a lot of CEOs. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we're also going to walk around and get some schwag. While at Advamed 2011, the Medtech Conference, we interviewed several CEOs of device companies, ranging in size from the big boys such as Covidien to smaller players as well. Here are some of their thoughts regarding the value of Advamed and this year's conference.
Advamed is a great organization. As an organization, they bring medical technology companies together of all different sizes. We learn from each other, we understand how to influence policy, how policy will influence our companies in the future. We also have a global reach. So today, our Medtech Conference really displays the best of the industry. We bring the best speakers to the table so smaller companies can benefit from larger companies' advice. We bring the smaller venture capital-backed company, the angel-funded companies, to the table with the larger companies that have an interest in that technology. So we have several business development people here today talking to us, several different companies in different sizes in terms of their technology, and this is what happens. We always bring in the confluency of both worlds together. So Advamed is an association that caters for all sizes of medtech companies that make sure that we are ahead of policy and we are there for them.
I'm a longtime member of Advamed and a big believer in the value of our association. Even though companies here are fierce competitors in the marketplace, we're all heavily regulated and have many, many issues in common. The chance to come together to be able to make our community more productive and more valuable, I think, is unique, and this is a special environment to do exactly that.
I think it's great to interact with a lot of the executives at larger companies. You know, they have a lot of money, they've thought about these things for a long time. We can learn a lot as small companies from what they do, and then we can also get a great update on all the new compliance issues and how, you know, some of the best practices, how people are dealing with those.
I've been particularly impressed with how the leaders of the larger companies are really embracing and have been embracing, you know, smaller organizations and wanting to, you know, continue to engage in dialogue and understand, you know, how we're making a difference and how we're looking to sort of grow and change the industry. I think that the Advamed staff is a highly committed group. You know, we rely on them heavily for being able to, you know, get policy information and you know, be able to track what's happening both here in Washington and throughout our industry.
Check back again next week when we bring you their thoughts on the economy and its impact on the device industry and the biggest challenges to growth facing the industry. Time for quick hits now. We're at Novatech Communications booth. They help companies launch new products, and they've got these free rockets. Merck and Sanofi cervical cancer vaccine is more cost-effective than a rival product made by GlaxoSmithKline. That's according to researchers from the UK's Health Protection Agency. A dose of London-based Glaxo's Cervarix would have to be from $30 to $50 cheaper than Merck and Sanofi's Gardasil to be as cost-effective. The study's results were published on the website of the British Medical Journal. Japanese regulators approved 2 new drugs that are critical to their maker's success: Novartis' Gilenya, the first oral multiple sclerosis treatment, and Vertex Pharma's Talabic, the Hep C treatment sold as Incivic in the U.S. Speaking of Japan, check out Beaker's blog for an in-depth look at how Japan is a hot market for growth and opportunity for drug makers. Merck is bailing out of a consumer drugs partnership with Johnson & Johnson after quality issues at one of the 50-50 joint venture's plants spurred recalls. Merck sold its interest to J&J for $175 million, giving up the rights to market Pepcid, Mylanta, Mylicon, and other common OTC drug brands in the U.S. and Canada. Merck says it's selling out of the 22-year-old JV so it can focus more tightly on its own wholly owned consumer drugs operation. Finally, longtime viewers of the show know that Jeremy and I enjoy having fun while out and about shooting BeakerBeat. Advamed 2011, the Medtech Conference, was no different. Take a look. Jeremy, this is how you're going to feel after spending 2 days at Advamed with me. Broken jaw and all. So we're here at the Invitech booth. They have free footballs, lots of fun. Have one. Jeremy. Ooh, look, Jeremy. Ice cream. Ice cream. Want some? It's delicious. No ice cream for you. Okay, so here we are at the Grenoble area booth. Agnes is from France, and she speaks French. Ooh la la. That's very nice. So tell me something in French. Say, you're very handsome.
Okay. Vous n'avez pas de cheveux.
Sounds great. Wonderful. Thank you. It's like a zombie delicatessen. Look, it's a tray of brains, Jeremy. Fresh brains. If you're a zombie, it smells like victory. Hey, look, Jeremy. Guess who else has ice cream that you don't?
Jeremy, you want some ice cream?
No.
Psych.
Well, thanks to our good friends at IDA Ireland, it's time to wind down the show with a nice pint of Guinness. Well, that's it for this week's edition of BeakerBeat. I'm Mike Justice. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. And now on to the good stuff. So delicious, Jeremy. Sit, Beaker. Sit. Good dog.
Sit, Beaker, sit.
Say it in French.
Assis, Beaker. Assis, Beaker.
Sounds much better in French.